Before we get into the video, let me address something really quick, okay? I received some comments. These previous videos about RE9 Requiem or Resident Evil in general or anything like that, I am not milking views. Normally when someone says that, that literally means that you're milking views to get money on YouTube. Warriors, my channel is ad-free. I can go on YouTube Studio right now and show you all my previous videos. All of them ads are turned off. Granted, majority of people already have ad blockers. I have a job. I make enough money. I have a roof over my head. I'm already blessed. All right. I'm just happy that you guys are here watching the channel. I don't know what I am milking. Okay. And if you're saying milking views to get subscribers do not equal views. You can look at plenty of big channels and see that for yourself. All right. I even made a whole video stating that my channel is ad free. I am never going to put ads on my channel unless there was like a sponsorship or something like that. That's different. But Google ads or ads that just pop up and interrupt the video, we're not doing that. So this is going to be my last time mentioning that. So if you do leave a comment and thinking I'm milking views, I don't know where you're getting that notion. All right. But that's my last time I'm going to address it. Now, on to the topic of the video. Let's execute. So you guys understand that some of the fan base, okay, they're pretty worried about Resident Evil Requiem, stating that it looks like RE6, you know, especially with the combat aspect and everything like that, you know what I'm saying? And believe me, I understand where they're coming from, considering that there are hints of the gameplay and the combat, majority of the combat, that they definitely took from Resident Evil 6, okay? Now, there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, I think the story of Resident Evil 6 is the one that I don't like because it's just all over the place, all right? I think they were trying to do a little too much and trying to capitalize on the love that the co-op aspect got from Resident Evil 5, right? So they were like, oh, let's go big and bad with RE6. And yeah, it was big and it certainly was bad, okay? I found this interview by Eurogamer. They actually had a chat with the director, Koshi Naganishi, of Resident Evil 9 Requiem, the director, and wanted to go over some stuff. And the title of this is that the Resident Evil Requiem's director on why RE9 won't suffer the same multi-protagonist woes as RE6 and why it's more like sushi. Now, when I saw this, I was like, how can you make an analogy like that? I'm pretty confused, okay? I'm gonna read this out to you guys because I'll be honest with you, I still don't know how the director is wording this and how he's doing it. Like I said, I've said it before, I'm slow. So if you guys know what he's saying, hey, by all means put it in the comments so slow people like me can understand, okay? But this is what the director said, right? How it relates to sushi, you know, the woes of RE6 and everything. If sushi hadn't been invented yet, a fish lover would just want to eat sashimi, raw fish. A rice lover would just want rice. Naganishi continues. Then some guys goes, I made this thing, it's called sushi. It's raw fish on rice. Imagine how you'd feel if you were someone who loved eating rice, like what are you putting raw fish on my rice for? Or if you were a sashimi person, you were like, just give me sashimi. Why are you ruining my fish with rice? We're the inventors of sushi here. The director's analogy concludes, even if you think you want one style, the flavor of this game comes from the combination of the two styles. Okay, I think I get it now. Okay, I think as I was reading it, I think like the light bulb, the electric bill in my head was starting to like click a little bit. I think I see what he's saying now, okay? Resident Evil 2 Remake and Resident Evil 4 Remake, those games have essentially offered us a template for the two characters, which I think we all know as fans by now. When you look at the gameplay styles and how they were, you can definitely tell RE2 Remake Grace, RE4 Remake Leon. We realize this has given some players an impression that will be entirely of the Leon experience in the game. That is not the case. Leon has exploration scenes, he has horrific scenes, and he has backtracking. Personally, me, I love backtracking, but sometimes some games can go way too far on the backtracking, like holy crap. But let's see how much backtracking we're talking. The thing is, usually when it comes to Resident Evil backtracking, sometimes it's not too crazy. And Resident Evil is one of those games where backtracking, I don't mind. It really tests your knowledge as a player. Like once you get something new, you're like, what is this item used for? Or what is this used for? And then you think of all the places that you went past or anything that you couldn't unlock. You're like, maybe it relates to this. So it's a fun way of like having the player, you know, think. For all the action, Leon will still be upgrading weapons, playing inventory Tetris, and managing his attaché case. Now, of course, that's up to the player's discretion because even though I said it before, like when we were covering RE4 Remake, that I love the attaché case because it seems like, you know, that's like a puzzle in your own inventory on how you can fit things. But then of course, RE4 Remake, you know, gave you the option to auto sort or just manually do your thing, okay? Now I'll say this, I have gotten almost accustomed to the auto sort. It's been a major like spoiler factor for me. I say but maybe other fans can agree with it. I think we have been spoiled with that auto sort to where like, just, hey, just press that button and move on, you know? But no, I even said I think that's the best inventory system of Resident Evil. With that was that attaché case. I think that was incredibly cool, and I still think it is. I still think it's the best one. All this comes along the idea that his sections will still be fundamentally different to Grace's thanks to his level of experience. The idea is that by combining them together, they are more than sum of their parts. We're the guys who invented sushi here. We're saying, trust us, take it, dare to take a leap with us and eat this new product called sushi. I get exactly what he is saying. Okay, I know we've actually received some comments actually here on the channel where a lot of peeps thinking like Leon is just all action, just gonna be just easy execution, you know what I'm saying, with his, you know, with his combat style and everything. And it seems that cool that, okay, even though Leon is in this game, Leon is going to have some of this stuff. It's going to be off the top action, but he's still going to have some parts where he just said, you know, exploration, some horrific scenes, and he has backtracking. Okay, now when it comes to the horrific scenes, okay, I think maybe the one that we can say is one of the scenes that we saw when the nurse got killed at the chainsaw from the last video that we made, right? When it comes to horrific scenes, Leon more than likely is not going to be scared during those kind of scenes, all right? But still, you can have a brave protagonist and everything like that and still have a scene that is horrific. You know, that doesn't change that fact. Now, exploration scenes and of course backtracking. Personally, I love those, and I love that we can be able to, you know, explore more. But then also, like I was saying earlier, with Leon, how much of it can we explore? And what I mean by that is, y'all remember in the difficulty settings, right, where it says if you go to standard classic, it'll be ink ribbons, but it'll be for Grace. It doesn't say anything about using that for Leon. So that was my interpretation, or like my question, like how much of Leon are we actually going to be using? Leon's not going to have ink ribbons or anything like that. Is his going to just be off the top action to the point where we don't need ink ribbons, or is it just simply for Grace, you know? And then of course, as this article was basically going over, like he said, you know, trust us, it's not going to be like RE6. Like I said, because of the combat, we can see some relation to RE6, and a lot of fans were definitely worried on that because a lot of fans don't like RE6. So it seems that the director is well aware of that, which is why he's answering this. You know, it's like sushi. Like we like one style of gameplay, and then we see another style of gameplay. It was like, okay, why are you mixing the two and everything? So I get, I understand at like a basic level on the analogy that the director here is saying, but I'm slow. It took me like a little bit of reading to figure that out, and then on camera, I'm like, oh, okay, I see what he's saying now. But like I said, even for me, I'm not worried on the combat of RE6, all this stuff, and how they integrated it here. But you can say, like I said, that you can tell they took some things from RE6. But the style of gameplay from both, you can tell, you know, RE4 Remake and RE2 Remake are heavily inspired. And of course, you see some elements from previous Resident Evil games and everything like that with RE6, with the combat. But I understand the fans' worry on that. But my biggest worry is definitely the pacing on this. I'm definitely gonna be like, okay, it looks cool and everything in the trailers and the showcase and the combat also, I'm loving it. Because realistically, you are forced to play these two characters, right? You know, being realistic, you are forced to play them to continue on, right? How is the pacing going to be? Because that can definitely ruin the pace of this. You have Grace with survival horror aspect, which I think we all love, right? Considering, you know, if we grew up in Resident Evil, that's what we like and that's what we're accustomed to. You got Leon, you know, the over-the-top action, everything, which I also love. But when you have two contrasting gameplay mechanics, how is it going to fit? How is the pacing going to work? That's my big worry, and I've been very vocal on that. I'm going to trust Capcom right now, and let's see. Like I said, it's a worry, but I still can't believe that they can possibly pull it off. You know, let's give it a shot, you know, when the game comes out and everything, because I'm still looking forward to it. But I'm glad that I saw this, because this was definitely some of the worries, at least for the fans, because the multi-protagonist walls of RE6, that is what they were definitely, a lot of people were worried about, because RE6, like I said, RE6 was just doing way too much. You know, 4 different campaigns. A lot of it was just so actiony, barely any horror into it. They did our boy Pierce incredibly dirty. I can understand why they made this interview and the director wanted to address things like that. He said, trust us. So let's get, of course, you know, we're going to give him a shot. We know we're going to play it, but do not be surprised if when this game comes out and people are going to have a lot of critiques on that, especially if the pacing is bad. And they're definitely going to relate it to RE6, especially when you have multi-protagonists that you are forced to play as. At the same time, to its credit, in this game, you are forced to play as Leon and Grace, whereas in RE6, you got to choose the campaign, and within that campaign, you got to choose the character that you play as. You know, so there is a difference on that RE6, I would say RE6 did get right in that aspect. It wasn't forced to play as Chris or Pierce or anything like that in their whole campaign. No, you got to choose which one. Now, to unlock certain things like certain emblems and certain treasures and stuff like that, then yeah, to access some of those, you would have to play as some of those characters to reach those particular items, especially if you were going for 100%. You had to do that. You couldn't get everything by just playing one character, all right? So if you wholeheartedly love Leon Chris or Sherry, you know, the OGs of the game and everything. No, to get certain stuff, you had to play the new characters or their partners. You know, you had to do it unless you were playing as co-op. All right. And then the other person that you're playing with got you those trophies and emblems and stuff like that. So that's the one thing I would say RE6 at least got right in that aspect. At the same time, though, this interview was really cool, but I wanted to go over this and everything like that because it seems that the director is well aware of the worries that the fan base has when it comes to this game right now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I just wanted to go over this real quick, and I hope you guys are looking forward to Resident Evil Requiem just like I am. All right, y'all. I love y'all. Take care.